Some people don't show you who they really are until they think you have no other choice. My name is Gerald Beaumont. I'm 67 years old, and I spent most of my life believing that family comes first. I believed that through war, through decades of hard work, through losing the love of my life. I believed it right up until the moment my own daughter-in-law sat across from me and told me to hand over my savings or leave. There was no anger in her voice, no hesitation, just expectation, like the decision had already been made for me. And in that moment, something inside me didn't break. It woke up, but this didn't start there. It never does. Stories like this begin long before the betrayal, in the quiet years where trust is built without question. I wasn't a rich man. I worked as an electrician for over 40 years, the kind of work that wears down your hands and your back, but gives you something honest in return. I woke up early, drank my coffee black, and fixed problems most people didn't even understand. Everything I had, I earned. And I wasn't alone in that life. My wife, Carol, was there through all of it. She had a quiet way of caring. Whenever something was on her mind, she would reorganize my toolbox. It didn't matter how perfect it already was. Suddenly everything would be lined up again, cleaner than before. That was her way of speaking without saying anything. That was love. Not loud, not dramatic, just always there. We had 31 years of that kind of life. And then one day, I didn't. After Carol passed, the house didn't feel empty. It felt quiet in a way that made you notice everything. The ticking clock, the hum of the fridge, your own footsteps echoing more than they should. That kind of quiet changes you. At the funeral, my son Marcus sat beside me. He put his hand on my shoulder and told me I wasn't alone. He told me I should move in with him and his wife. Said they had space, said it made sense, said I shouldn't be by myself. And I believed him, because he was my son. So I sold the house, the one Carol and I had built our life in. 31 years packed into boxes. I didn't take much. Just clothes, a few tools, her photograph, and the one thing I never talked about, $214,000. My life savings. Every early morning, every overtime shift, every sacrifice, sitting quietly in a bank account. Moving into their house felt strange. Not bad, just temporary. Like I was visiting, even though I wasn't. The first few months were fine. Not warm, not close, just polite. The kind of polite that keeps distance. Meals were shared, but conversations weren't. Mornings passed with nods instead of smiles. It was the kind of fine that doesn't last. I kept to myself. I always have. I fixed things around the house. Leaky pipes, loose cabinets, small problems that didn't need to become big ones. I didn't ask for anything. I didn't expect anything. That's how I was raised. Earn your place, don't be a burden, stay out of the way. And for a while, that was enough. Until the day it wasn't. It was a Tuesday. Nothing special about it. I had just come in from the yard, washed my hands, poured myself a glass of iced tea, and sat down. It was quiet, peaceful. Then she walked in. Tanya, my daughter logged. She pulled out the chair across from me and sat down slowly. Too slowly. Like someone preparing for something already decided. She said my name. Not Dad, just Gerald. That was the first sign. She told me we needed to talk. I asked her what about. She said it was about the financial arrangement in the house. That word caught me off guard. Arrangement. I told her I bought my own groceries, fixed what broke, stayed out of the way. She didn't react. She just said I lived there free. No rent, no utilities. And then she said something that changed everything. She mentioned the exact amount of money I had. Not a guess. Not close. Exact. That meant Marcus had told her my own son. I told her that money was my retirement. That it was what Carol and I had built together. She leaned forward slightly and said the house was what she and Marcus paid for every month. Then she gave me the choice. Either I contribute $100,000 toward their mortgage, or I find somewhere else to live. No emotion. No hesitation. Just a clean line. You would think I would argue, get angry, defend myself, but I didn't. I finished my iced tea, rinsed the glass, set it down, and walked away. Because at this point in life, you learn something important. The loudest response is often silence. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed holding Carol's photograph. And for the first time, I said something out loud that I never thought I would. It's time to go. But I didn't leave right away. I waited. 3 days of silence. 3 days of thinking. 3 days of understanding something very clearly. They didn't see me as family anymore. They saw me as something else. An opportunity. And once you understand that, everything changes. I didn't leave the next morning. I didn't pack my bags or make a scene. Instead, I did what I've always done best. I stayed quiet, and I started planning. For 3 days, I watched everything more carefully than I ever had before. The way Tanya moved around the house, the way Marcus avoided eye contact, the way conversation stopped when I entered a room. It wasn't subtle anymore. It was clear. I wasn't a father. I wasn't family. I was a problem they were trying to solve, and they thought they had already figured out the answer. What they didn't understand was this. I had spent my entire life solving problems. On the 4th morning, I woke up before anyone else. Same as always. Coffee, black. But this time, instead of sitting at the kitchen table, I took it to the garage, closed the door, and made a call. "Whitmore and Associates," the voice answered. "My name is Gerald Beaumont," I said. "I need to speak to someone about property and asset protection." There was a pause. "Then, we can schedule you for this afternoon. I'll be there." Simple as that. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Because once a line is crossed, you don't step back. You step forward. The office was about 20 minutes away. Clean, quiet, professional. The kind of place where people don't waste time. A man in his late 50s greeted me. Sharp suit, calm eyes. "Mr. Beaumont," he said, offering his hand. "I'm Daniel Whitmore." I shook it, firm, steady. "I understand you're looking for some advice," he said as we sat down. I didn't rush, didn't ramble. I just told him the truth, everything. Not emotionally, not dramatically, just facts. I told him about selling my house, about moving in with my son, about the money, about the conversation at the table. And when I finished, he leaned back slightly, folded his hands, and said something that stuck with me. "You're not here for advice," he said. "You're here to protect yourself." I nodded. "That's right." He gave a small, understanding smile. "Good. Because that means you came before it was too late." Then he laid everything out. Options, legal protections, ownership structures, ways to make sure that what I had stayed mine. Not accessible, not touchable, not negotiable. And for the first time since that Tuesday, I felt something settle inside me. Control. Real control. We spent 2 hours going through everything. Every detail. Every possibility. By the time I walked out of that office, I wasn't the same man who had walked in. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was preparing. That same week, I did something no one in that house expected. I bought a property. Small, quiet, nothing flashy, but solid. Mine. Completely mine. No shared names. No discussions. No approvals. Just a simple transaction backed by decades of work. I didn't tell Marcus. I didn't tell Tanya. Because they hadn't earned that information. And more importantly, they had already shown me exactly how they would use it. The next step was simple. Move quietly, plan carefully, and leave. On my terms. Back at the house, nothing had changed on the surface. Tanya still moved through the rooms like everything belonged to her. Marcus still avoided real conversations. But now, I saw it differently. Not emotionally, not personally, just clearly. They were waiting. Waiting for me to give in. Waiting for me to hand over something I had spent a lifetime building. They thought pressure would work. That time would wear me down. That silence would make me uncomfortable enough to agree. But they made one mistake. They assumed I needed them. I didn't. Not anymore. A few days later, Marcus finally approached me. Caught me in the kitchen while I was making coffee. "Dad," he said, not quite meeting my eyes, "have you thought about what Tanya said?" I took a slow sip, set the cup down, and looked at him. Really looked at him. Not as a boy, not as my son, but as a man standing in front of me. "I have," I said calmly. He shifted slightly, uncomfortable. "Okay." And there was a pause. Not long, just enough. "I'll let you know soon." That was it. No argument, no explanation. And somehow, that made him more uneasy than anything else I could have said. Because uncertainty is something people like him don't handle well. That night, I sat in my room again. Carol's photograph in my hand. Same as before. But this time, I wasn't asking what to do. I already knew. I was just making sure I was ready to do it. And I was. Because the truth is, walking away isn't the hard part. The hard part is realizing you should have done it sooner. 3 more days passed. Quiet, tense, predictable. Then came the moment. The one they thought they controlled. The one they thought would end in their favor. But they were wrong. Because while they were waiting for me to give in, I had already made my move. And the next time we sat at that table, everything was going to change. The next time we sat at that table, it wasn't by accident. Tanya called for it. Her tone sharper now, less patient than before. Like she had already waited longer than she thought she should have. Marcus was already sitting when I walked in. Arms crossed, jaw tight. They didn't greet me, didn't pretend this was anything other than what it was. A decision. Have you made up your mind? Tanya asked, straight to the point. No small talk, no courtesy. I pulled out the chair slowly and sat down. Calm, steady. I have, I said. Marcus leaned forward slightly, expecting something, hoping for something. Tanya didn't move. She just watched me, waiting. I folded my hands on the table, looked at both of them, and said, I won't be giving you any money. Silence. Not shocked, not explosive, just still. Like the air itself paused for a second, then Tanya let out a small breath through her nose. Not quite a laugh, more like disbelief. I don't think you understand the situation, she said. I understand it perfectly, I replied. Marcus finally spoke. Dad, we're not trying to hurt you here. We're just asking you to contribute. That's fair. Fair. That word again. I nodded slightly. You're asking for $100,000. It's an investment in the house, Tanya cut in quickly. You're home too. No, I said calmly. It's your house. That hit something. I could see it in the way her expression tightened. We're giving you a place to live, she said. And I've contributed in my own way, I replied. She shook her head. That's not the same. Of course it wasn't. Because this was never about fairness. It was about control. Marcus leaned forward again. Dad, listen. We're trying to build something here. We're asking for your help. I looked at him. Really looked. And for a moment, I saw the boy he used to be. But that moment passed. Help, I repeated quietly. Or pressure. He didn't answer. Because he couldn't. Tanya stepped in again, more direct now. If you're not willing to contribute, then we need to be realistic. There it was. The line again. Clear. Cold. You'll need to make other living arrangements. I nodded slowly. No surprise. No reaction. All right, I said. That caught them off guard. Not the refusal. The calm. The acceptance. Marcus frowned slightly. What do you mean? All right, I said, standing up slowly. I'll be out soon. This time, the silence was different, heavier. Because something about the way I said it didn't match what they expected. Tanya narrowed her eyes slightly. How soon? I looked at her. Soon enough. And with that, I walked away. No argument. No raised voices. No emotion. Just a quiet ending to a conversation they thought they controlled. But what they didn't know was that the outcome had already been decided long before we sat down. That night, I didn't pack in a rush. I didn't move like someone being forced out. I moved like someone leaving by choice. Because that's exactly what it was. I took my time, folded my clothes carefully, wrapped Carol's photograph in a soft cloth, picked up the few tools I had brought with me. Each item had meaning, not because of what it was, but because of what it represented. A life that was mine, not theirs. The next morning, I made one more call. Mr. Whitmore, I said, everything's ready. Good, he replied. The property is fully secured. Ownership is in your name alone. No external claims. Exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you. Just remember, he added, from this point forward, everything is on your terms. I hung up. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to peace. Not happiness. Not relief. Just certainty. The kind that comes when you know you're no longer waiting for someone else's decision. You've already made your own. Over the next 2 days, I moved most of my things quietly, one box at a time, loaded into my truck early in the morning, before anyone noticed, before anyone cared. And just like that, the house I had been living in stopped feeling like a place I belonged. Not that it ever really had. By the third day, there was almost nothing left in my room. Just the bed, the dresser, and silence. That evening, Marcus finally knocked on my door. Didn't wait long before opening it. Are you moving out? He asked. I turned toward him. Yes. He looked confused, caught off guard. Wait, where are you going? I paused for a moment, not because I didn't know, but because I was deciding how much he deserved to hear. I've made arrangements. That's not what I meant, he said, stepping in slightly. Do you have somewhere to stay? I held his gaze. Yes. Another pause. Longer this time. You didn't tell us, he said. No, I didn't. Because the moment they gave me that ultimatum, they stopped being the people I needed to inform. I didn't think it was necessary, I replied. That stung. I could see it. Not anger. Something else. Something closer to realization. But it came too late. Tanya appeared behind him, arms crossed, watching, always watching. So you're just leaving? She said. Yes. No discussion. No notice? I almost smiled at that, but I didn't. You gave me a choice, I said calmly. I made one. That shut her down. Not completely, but enough. The next morning, I loaded the last box into my truck, closed the door to the room, and walked through the house one final time. Not slowly, not emotionally, just clearly. The kitchen, the living room, the hallway, nothing there belonged to me, and that was fine, because everything that mattered was already with me. Marcus stood near the door, silent. Tanya stayed in the background, watching again. I picked up my keys, opened the front door, and stepped outside. The air felt different, lighter, cleaner, like something invisible had finally been removed. Marcus followed me out. Dad, he said. I stopped, but I didn't turn around right away. What is it? I asked. Where exactly are you going? There was something in his voice now. Not control, not expectation. Something closer to uncertainty, maybe even concern. But I had learned something important. Timing matters, and his was off. I turned slightly, just enough to meet his eyes. Somewhere that's mine. And with that, I got into my truck, started the engine, and drove away. No looking back, because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is leave without giving them the ending they expected. The drive to the new place wasn't long, but it felt different. Not like I was leaving something behind, but like I was finally moving towards something that had been waiting for me. No noise, no tension, just the steady sound of the engine and the road ahead. When I pulled up to the property, I didn't rush to get out. I just sat there for a moment. Hands on the wheel, looking at it. Small, simple, but solid. No shared history. No expectations. No conditions. Just a place that was mine. I stepped out slowly and walked toward the front door, unlocked it, pushed it, opened. And stepped inside. The air was still, quiet in a different way than before. Not heavy. Not empty. Just untouched. I set the first box down on the floor. Then the second. No rush. No pressure. Just movement at my own pace. That first night, there wasn't much furniture. A chair, a mattress, a small table. But I slept better than I had in months, because for the first time, there was no tension in the walls. No feeling of being watched. No sense that I had to justify my presence. Just silence. And it was mine. The next morning, I woke up early. Same as always. Made coffee. Stood by the window and looked outside. Nothing extraordinary. Just a quiet street. A few trees. Stillness. But it felt right. That same day, my phone rang. Marcus. I let it ring. Watched the screen light up, then fade. A few minutes later, it rang again. This time, I picked it up. Yeah, I said. Dad, we need to talk. Straight to the point. No greeting. No warmth. I took a slow sip of my coffee. About what? There was a pause, then he said it. You leaving like that? It wasn't necessary. I almost laughed, but I didn't. You gave me a choice, I said calmly. I made it. That's not what I meant, he replied quickly. You didn't even try to work things out. Work things out. That phrase again. Like everything could still be adjusted, negotiated, shaped into something convenient. I understood things very clearly. I said. Silence on the other end. Then his tone shifted, slightly harder. Where are you staying? There it was. Not concerned. Not really. Information. I leaned back in the chair. Why does that matter? Another pause, longer this time. Because you're my father. I let that sit for a second. Then I said, and I was living in your house. No response. Because the truth doesn't always leave room for one. Tanya's voice came faintly through the phone. He must have put it on speaker. Ask him if he's going to reconsider, she said. Not quietly enough. Not respectfully enough. I heard every word. Marcus hesitated. Then asked anyway. Dad, are you sure about this? About not helping with the house? I didn't answer immediately. Not because I needed time to think, but because I wanted him to feel it. That space, that distance, that shift. Yes, I said finally. Firm. Clear. No room left. And that's final. The line went quiet. Then the call ended. No goodbye. No closure. Just silence. But this time, it didn't bother me, because silence only feels heavy when you're waiting for something. I wasn't waiting anymore. Few days passed. I settled in, slowly, bought what I needed. Nothing more. Everything had a purpose. Everything had a place. And with each passing day, something inside me became clearer. Lighter. Not because I had more, but because I had less of what didn't. Belong. Then came the message. Not. I call this time. A text from Tanya. Short. Direct. We need to resolve this situation. I read it once. Then again. Then I put the phone down because I understood something now that I hadn't fully accepted before. This was never about resolution. It was about control slipping away. And people don't like that, especially when they thought they had everything figured out. I didn't respond. An hour later, another message came. If you don't cooperate, we may have to take legal steps. I looked at the screen for a long moment. Then I did something very simple. I called Mr. Whitmore. He picked up on the second ring. Gerald, I've received a message, I said. They're talking about legal action. There was no panic in his voice. No concern. Just calm. Let them, he said. That was it. 2 words. Steady. Confident. Double quotes. They have no claim, he continued. Your assets are protected. Your property is in your name alone. There's nothing they can do. I nodded, even though he couldn't see it. Understood. And Gerald, he added, don't engage emotionally. That's where they'll try to pull you back in. I won't. And I meant it. Because I had already stepped out of that space. That same evening, I received another call. This time, I didn't answer, not because I was avoiding it, but because I had nothing left to say. The next morning, I went outside and stood on the small porch. Coffee in hand. Sun just starting to rise. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something settle completely. Not anger, not frustration, just clarity. The kind that doesn't come from winning an argument, but from no longer needing to have one. Because the truth is, they thought this was about money. About numbers. About what I had. But it never was. It was about something much simpler. Respect. And once that's gone, there's nothing left to negotiate. A week later, I heard from Marcus again. This time, his voice was different. Not demanding. Not controlled. Quieter. Dad, things have gotten complicated. I listened, didn't interrupt. They're saying, legally, we don't have a case. Of course they didn't. I had made sure of that. I just thought, you should know, he added. I took a slow breath, then said something I hadn't said to him in a long time. I already did. Another pause. Then, softer this time, he said, yeah, I guess you did. And just like that, the balance shifted completely. Not because I fought harder, not because I argued better, but because I walked away before they could take anything from me. And now, for the first time, they were the ones left dealing with the consequences. After that call, everything became quieter, not just around me, inside me. Marcus didn't call again right away. Tanya didn't message. The pressure, the tension, the constant feeling of being pulled into something, it all stopped. And that silence told me more than anything else ever had. Because when people realize they can't control the outcome anymore, they stop trying to force it. Days turned into weeks. My routine settled into something simple, peaceful. I woke up early, made my coffee, sat by the window. Sometimes I fixed things around the house. Sometimes I didn't do much at all. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to justify any of it. Everything I did, or didn't do, was my choice. One afternoon, while going through the last of the boxes, I came across Carol's photograph again. The same one I had carried with me through everything. I sat down and held it for a while, just looking at it, remembering the quiet life we had built together. The small moments, the routines, the understanding that didn't need words. And I realized something then. She wouldn't have wanted me to stay somewhere I wasn't respected. She wouldn't have asked me to give up everything we worked for, just to keep the peace. Because real peace doesn't come from giving in. It comes from knowing when to walk away. A few days later, my phone rang again. Marcus, I answered this time. Not out of obligation, but because I wanted to see what had changed. Dad, he said. His voice was different, quieter, slower. I've been thinking. I didn't respond. I just listened. We handled things wrong. There it was. Not perfect, not complete, but closer to the truth than anything he had said before. You did, I replied calmly. A pause, then he continued. I didn't see it at the time. I thought we were being practical. Practical, another word that sounds reasonable, until you look at what it actually means. And now, I asked. Now there was hesitation. Real hesitation. Now I think we pushed too far. I let that sit for a moment, not to make him uncomfortable, but because some things need to be felt, not rushed past. Yes, I said. You did. There was no anger in my voice. No need for it, because I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. I'm not asking for anything, he added quickly. Not money. Not help. Nothing like that. I believed him. Not because of what he said, but because of how he said it. There was no edge. No expectation. Just something quieter. I just wanted to say it, he finished. Another pause. Then I said something simple. All right. Not forgiveness. Not rejection. Just acknowledgement. Because that's all it was. A step. Nothing more. We didn't fix everything in that conversation. We didn't go back to how things were. But something shifted. The illusion was gone. And in its place was something more honest. More real. And that was enough. Tanya never called. Never apologized. But I wasn't waiting for that anymore. Because I had already learned the most important lesson. Closure doesn't come from other people. It comes from you. Months passed. Life moved forward. Quietly, steadily. I made small improvements to the house. Fixed things the way I liked them. Set things where they made sense to me. Not for anyone else. Just for me. And slowly, it stopped feeling like a new place. It became home. Not because of how it looked, but because of how it felt. There was no tension. No expectations hanging in the air. No conversations waiting to turn into something else. Just space. Peaceful, honest space. Every now and then, I would take out Carol's photograph, sit by the window, and think, not about what I lost, but about what I kept. My independence, my dignity, my right to decide what my life looks like. And that mattered more than anything else. Because the truth is, this was never about money. It was never about a house. It was about something much simpler. Knowing your worth, and refusing to let anyone reduce it. Even if they're family. Especially if they're family. I didn't choose money over them. I chose respect over control. Clarity over comfort. And myself, after a lifetime of putting everyone else first. And in the end, that was the only decision that ever really mattered. Time has a way of settling things, not by fixing them, but by showing you what really remains when everything unnecessary falls away. Months passed, and the calls became less frequent. Then they stopped altogether. Not out of anger, not out of pride. Just distance, the kind that grows naturally when people no longer play the same roles in each other's lives. And I was okay with that. More than okay. Because what replaced it wasn't emptiness. It was space. Real space. The kind you don't realize you've been missing until you finally have it. My days became steady, predictable in a way that didn't feel limiting, but grounding. Mornings with coffee by the window, afternoons spent fixing small things around the house or just sitting in quiet, evenings without tension. Without waiting for the next uncomfortable conversation. Just calm. And in that calm, I started noticing things I hadn't before. How light moves differently through a room when you're not carrying weight inside you. How silence can feel peaceful instead of heavy. How being alone isn't the same as being lonely. One afternoon, I was in the backyard, adjusting a loose fence panel, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. A message from a number I hadn't seen in a while. Marcus. I wiped my hands on a cloth and opened it. Can I come by? No explanation. No pressure. Just a simple question. I stood there for a moment, reading it again. And then I typed back, yes. No time. No conditions. Just yes. Because whatever this was, it didn't feel like the past repeating itself. It felt different. He arrived later that afternoon. Alone. No. Tanya. That alone said more than anything else could have. I opened the door before he had a chance to knock. For a second, we just stood there, looking at each other, not as we used to. Not as father and son caught in roles and expectations. Just two people who had been through something real. Come in, I said. He stepped inside slowly, looked around, taking it in. It's nice, said. Simple. Honest. Double quotes. Thank you. We sat down, not across from each other like before, but side by side. A small difference, but it mattered. For a while, neither of us spoke, and that was fine, because this silence wasn't uncomfortable. It wasn't filled with things unsaid. It was just space. I've been thinking a lot, he said finally. I nodded slightly. About what happened. About how we handled everything. I didn't interrupt. I keep going back to that moment at the table, he continued. And I realize now, we weren't asking. We were pushing. Double quotes. Yes. They were. And I didn't stop it, he added. Quietly. That part mattered more than anything else, because it wasn't just about what was said. It was about what wasn't stopped. I should have, he said. I looked at him. And for the first time in a long time, I saw something real in his expression. Not defensiveness, not justification, just understanding. I know, I said. We sat in silence again, but this time, it felt different. Lighter. I don't expect things to go back to how they were, he said after a while. They won't, I replied. Not harsh. Just true. He nodded. Yeah, I figured. Another pause, then he asked something I didn't expect. Can we start over? Not like before. Just better. I thought about that. Not for long, but long enough to know my answer wasn't coming from emotion. It was coming from clarity. We can move forward, I said. Not backward. He let out a small breath, almost like relief. That's fair. And it was. Because starting over doesn't mean forgetting. It means understanding and choosing differently. We talked a little more after that. Nothing heavy. Nothing forced. Just simple things. Life. Work. Small details that didn't carry weight. And for the first time in a long time, it felt natural. Not perfect, but real. When he got up to leave, he paused at the door. Thanks for letting me come, he said. I nodded. You're welcome. He stepped outside, then turned back slightly. I'm glad you didn't give in, he said. That caught me off guard, not because of what he said, but because of what it meant. I held his gaze for a moment. So am I? He gave a small nod. Then he left. And as I closed the door, I realized something important. This wasn't about winning. It wasn't about proving a point. It was about standing your ground long enough for the truth to become clear. To them, but more importantly, to yourself. I walked back inside and sat down by the window. Again. Same place. Same chair. Same quiet. But everything felt different now, not because the past had changed, but because I had. And that changes everything. Because in the end, people may come back, situations may shift, things may soften over time, but none of that matters if you lose yourself in the process. I didn't, and that made all the difference, because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is not fight harder, not argue louder, but simply refuse to give away what you've spent a lifetime building: your independence, your dignity, your sense of self. And once you protect that, everything else falls into place. After that day, there was nothing left to chase. No one finished arguments. No words waiting to be said. Just a quiet understanding that everything had already happened the way it needed to. Marcus didn't come back the next day. Or the next, and that was fine, because what mattered wasn't how often he showed up. It was how he showed up. And for the first time in a long time, he had come without expectations. Without demands, just as himself. Weeks passed. Then months. Life settled into something steady, not exciting. Not dramatic. But real. The kind of life that doesn't need to prove anything. The kind that doesn't ask for permission to exist. I kept working on the house little by little, fixing things the way I liked, leaving some things unfinished on purpose, because for once, there was no rush. No pressure to meet someone else's timeline. Everything moved at my pace. One afternoon, I found myself sitting outside, watching the sun dip lower across the sky. Coffee in hand. Same as always. And I realized something I hadn't noticed before. I wasn't thinking about them anymore. Not in the way I used to. Not replaying conversations, not wondering what I could have done differently. Not questioning my decision, just remembering. And there's a difference, because remembering doesn't hold you back. It just reminds you of how far you've come. My phone buzzed softly on the table beside me. Message. From Marcus. I hope you're doing well. Just wanted to check in. No pressure. No hidden meaning. Just a simple line. I looked at it for a moment, then typed back, I am. Hope you are too. That was it. No long conversation. No need for one, because sometimes a small, honest connection is worth more than forced closeness. And this felt honest. I never heard from Tanya again. Not directly. And I didn't expect to. Some people don't change. They adjust. They step back when they realize something no longer works in their favor, but that doesn't mean they understand. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to stay in your life the same way they once were. That's not loss. That's clarity. The seasons changed. Days grew shorter, then longer again. Time kept moving, the way it always does. And with it, so did I. One evening, I took out Carol's photograph again, sat by the window. Same quiet space. Same soft light. But this time, it felt different. Not heavy. Not emotional in the way it used to be. Just peaceful. I did all right, I said quietly, not to convince myself, but because it was true. I didn't let anger decide for me. I didn't let pressure break me. And I didn't trade my dignity for comfort. I made the harder choice, the quieter one, the one that doesn't look dramatic from the outside, that changes everything on the inside. And that's what mattered, because in the end, this was never about a house. Or money. Or even family. It was about knowing where you stand and refusing to move from it when everything around you tries to push you. It was about understanding that respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you require, even if it costs you relationships, even if it means walking away from people you once trusted. Because the truth is, losing people who only value you when it benefits them isn't a loss. It's a correction. And once you see that clearly, you stop chasing what was never real to begin with. I stood up slowly, placed Carol's photograph back where it belonged, and looked around the room. At everything I had built again, from nothing. At an age where most people think it's too late to start over, but it's not. It never is. Because starting over isn't about age. It's about clarity. It's about deciding that whatever comes next will be on your terms. And for the first time in a long time, that's exactly where I was. No noise. No pressure. No expectations. Just a quiet life, built on something solid. Myself. And that was more than enough. Because sometimes the strongest ending isn't loud. It doesn't come with revenge or victory speeches. It comes in silence. In peace. In walking away with everything that truly matters still intact, and never looking back.